he's like, oh, now is the time when we're supposed to be eating.
By the way, well, I just started. We're live now. uh, anyways, hello everybody. We're a little early today. I know. I figured why not.
3 whole minutes, man.
Yeah. Usually I'm late, so I figured it'd be early every once in a while. Uh, I
We're
was
making
just
it last time today.
yeah. I was just looking through the past few days because all the days like come together, and I have to like remind myself what's happened over the past few days. Because like honestly, like I mostly just remember what I did today. At any given time, I mostly just remember today. So I have to like go through, like remind myself, like, oh yeah, that happened. Because there's kind of like today, yesterday, and the ambiguous past. And anyway, but I feel like I live in the Groundhog Day. That's kind of the issue. Yeah.
You're not the only one because I literally will remember like blocks of 12 hours. And if it didn't happen in the last 12 hours, then I'm like, crap, was that yesterday or last week? I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah. I have noticed because I've started waking up at like 3 to 4 in the morning. Um, because it's much easier to for me to work at that time because if I wake up at 3, it means that I'm only like 3 hours behind like Ukraine, and I can catch up on those 3 hours because usually not much happens in the morning, and then I can be more or less real time throughout the day. Um, and if I wake up at like 5, then it's harder. It's harder to catch up. But anyways, but what I've noticed is that when I wake up this early, each day, like in my brain, is now like 2 days because I can't remember what happened this morning or yesterday. Like this morning becomes yesterday, and now like this afternoon was today. It's like in my brain, there's now like a 14-day week.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, I 100% get that.
Angel Fire over here is like, yeah, giving out memberships to people. That was pretty nice of you. Thank you. Uh, I believe Constantine's coming, but he will be here in a little while. So he's not here yet, but he's coming. Um. Anyways, so yeah. So one thing that I only actually I can't remember if this was today or yesterday. I have to look. Give me a second. Uh, it,
People are going to think we're crazy.
it was yesterday. It was yesterday. So yesterday morning, I I I saw that a Ukrainian M113 was captured, and then I filed it. Like I put it in my notes, and I moved on with my day. And then that evening, um, one of my friends who helps me with the spreadsheet, not Gick, a different guy, he was like, "You didn't add the M113," and I was like, "Oh, that's yesterday." He's like, "No," and he like look at the date, and I look at my notes, and my notes are from this morning. And I'm like, "Oh God, oh it's happening. I'm going crazy."
That is exactly what happens to me. So I get up early. I'm usually like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I look through all the ship stuff, which it's only usually been like 5 hours since the last time I looked at ships. But anyway, fine. Um, I look through all the ships and then I note like a couple things that happened in the news and I write them down. And then by the time I'm doing my thread at night, it literally is like it's an entire day later. And I don't remember unless I noted it really specifically. And I remember to look back at my notes. I completely forget what's happened in the morning.
Yeah. So Speaking of this morning,
Oy vey.
this morning there was a missile attack on Odessa. The governor said that it was like the southern part. I don't know what that means, but he issued a warning for this district, which is like just south of Odessa city. I don't actually know if it hit there or if it hit somewhere else, but uh, anyway, that was like the first thing I read this morning. Do you know anything about that?
Um, I don't know anything about the early morning strike. That one I really haven't seen any information on at all. And I should like note that Ukrainians in Odessa are very good at keeping things quite quiet for at least 24 hours after they happen. Um, when we saw actual footage come out of the strike in front of the art museum, that doesn't happen. It's almost always 24 hours later, and people just are really good at being quiet about that. So it's not abnormal that we wouldn't have a whole bunch of information right now. I don't know anything about the southern ones so much. Uh, my understanding is that the afternoon attack did strike the port, um, but I don't know specific details about that yet. Uh, and then you said there was a third one way south, right?
Yeah, there was a these were glide bombs dropped in the south. It's very ambiguous what happened with these bombs. I just kind of like placed the marker because they said that it was in the southernmost floodplain of Odessa, and that sounds like here-ish, which would be like the delta for the Danube.
So, and just to be clear, there's ships that travel up and down. If you scroll back in for a minute, there's ships and travel that travel up and down that whiter line pretty much all day long, every day, to go to the Danube River ports. And so striking near them is a weird thing that we haven't really seen them do. Usually they'll strike the actual port infrastructure at Rennie or Ishmael. But striking the mud flats is like super bizarre.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if they hit. This is where they hit. It's a very ambiguous statement. I didn't really know how to analyze, so I just kind of like, so I was like, you're telling me it's the southernmost part of Odessa in a floodplain. I'm like, well, this is the southernmost part, and it's a floodplain, so let's go with it. So maybe there'll be more
So
information tomorrow.
I
Constantine's here.
expect that.
How you doing, Constantine?
Yay!
Hello, everyone. Sorry for being late. I came from the store, so I had to run.
To be fair, we were earlier than usual, so it's
Alright.
not really your fault. It's
Never my fault.
so yeah. Anyways, XA, is there anything else you'd like to say about these airstrikes?
Um, Not particularly about the airstrikes, but I will say yesterday was the busiest day we saw in the Ukrainian corridor so far. And this morning there was a whackload of ships that went north and south again, and they've all been transiting with AIS on. So they're tracking on, and they're tracking even into their berth or their like parking spot at the port. So there's no possible way that Russia doesn't know exactly where these ships are. And there's some speculation that part of the reason for doing that is just to be like, hey, we're here, don't hit us, dummies. It'll be interesting to see what comes out about the port in Odessa and what was actually hit there today. But I expect that it'll be mostly just infrastructure and trucks bringing in grain, because there's a lot of that constantly there right now.
Yeah, and there was a Shahed attack too, right?
There sure was. They wanted to bring, in fact, so today I went and put on the app that tells you every time there's a air raid, and I think there's been 6 so far since I put on the app today, which is a great way to induce anxiety. If anybody's looking for anxiety, I fully encourage you to put this app on your phone because it'll help you out.
Well, there you go. And you can get the what's it called, the Gachi app or whatever. He will tell you every single time Russia fires a single artillery shell towards Nikopol, that whole area on the Dnipro River. Literally every shell they fire, he announces it. If you want anxiety, you get it that way. So anyway, Konstantin, how are you doing? How's your fundraiser?
It's all right. We're almost. I was hoping that we will reach the target today, but probably we're gonna hit it tomorrow. We're fundraising for the drones, 10 to 15 drones. I don't know exactly what's gonna be the price when we purchase it, but we got 23, I think, thousand already out of 25. So it's going okay. I'm happy with it. Just a little bit left to finish.
There's 1,800 left.
Yep, 1,800.
Whatever. Yeah. So the link to your fundraiser is in the video description. And I don't know, maybe people can get together and donate like $5 each or something. I don't know.
I definitely appreciate it, and thank you for bringing this up. It really helped when people out of my standard reach on Twitter see the fundraiser, and it does help, and it does push it a lot. So thank you very much.
Yeah. We have to talk about this gingerly, okay? But do you wanna talk about your video?
Which video once again?
The one from yesterday.
The one with a lot of Russian casualties.
Yes. Obviously we can't get into.
Yeah, we cannot show it much,
No.
but yeah, I can tell a bit a story behind it. So this happened around Andriivka. It's between Andriivka and Kurdimivka, and this was the 92nd Brigade, 1st Battalion that was on the shift, on the rotation there right now, and Russian started attacking on tanks. They brought their infantry on tanks, and they all literally died. They were killed. All of them were slaughtered. I don't think anyone survived. And they just kept coming. And what's those who were not killed by artillery were finished off by the drones, dropping munitions. These guys have been dropping drones for a very long time, like for almost 2 years now since the war has started. It's the guys, from the famous video that dropped the grenades into the sunroof of the. I think it was the first drop video.
Yeah, it was one of the first anyway. I don't think it was literally the first, but it was probably the first like viral one.
Yeah. And they're good at it, at dropping. They're quite precise. They're not very good at, I can tell you, at conserving the drones, because they do lose a lot of them. But they are really good at the aim, and finding people, finding enemy troops. And what happened next is that they send new guys there just today, and they tell me they have enough material for the second video already. So yeah, it's
Jeez. You're just gonna make Djibouti work. It's like just lock Djibouti in a room and make video.
Right now they have not downloaded it yet from the cards, from the drones, but they shared me the screen recordings. And it's not all in snow because or the new ones are gonna be all in snow because the snow there was snow. It was snowing over today and yesterday. And yeah, so what they have, there is like a small road. I think it's a road over there which has like and Russians dug like 2 foxholes in there, and they all live in those 2 foxholes. And those foxholes, they take around, like they say, 10 to 20 people. And as soon as they kill half of them, the other half starts running away. And while they're running away, they keep finishing off with the drops. But getting them from those foxholes, you can only FPVs help, and FPVs are kind of expensive. They are like $500 each, and if you can drop many, you can reuse one DJI drone, or FPV drone is usually one way. At least what they know. In their experience, they don't have those bomber drones. They have only the kamikaze ones, so it costs them quite a lot. And next day they send another batch of guys, and the same fate awaits them. I think I posted a video today where they used the FPV drone to fly into the foxhole, but it did not explode. So the guy ran out angry with the shovel and started hitting.
You just start taking the drone of a shovel. What could go wrong?
Yeah, and surprisingly, like it did not explode. And like someone said, they're luckier than they're dumber.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's you're in contact with these guys, right? Because I heard today that Russia attempted a breakthrough today. Did you hear anything about that?
They say they keep coming, but I did not hear like anything like in the bigger numbers. So I did not hear about like large scale assaults. It was more like same size around platoon. Platoon comes in, they try to assault. Those who survive, they run back to those foxholes. Then our guys go and bomb those foxholes. Then they understand that they're not gonna survive there. They start running away along the one road, and that's when they kick in the drops and finish them off on their way home, away, and so not home, to safety, to relative safety.
These dots that I have here, these are all geolocations from that video. The video starts with this cluster munitions, and it's cluster munitions, and then there's kind of the opening scene with these two, like the wounded guy walking this way, and anyway, so all these are from that video. So this is where that video took place, and it's between Kurdyumivka and Zelenopilya and Andriivka. So anyway, so if you're wondering where that video was, it was right here. And today I heard, and I don't know if I trust it or not, but they said that Russia attempted a breakthrough into Andriivka today, and that it was repelled. That was kind of the claim. I don't know if it's true, but
when you hear things like that, you don't really, when it's a rumor from someone who is sitting there, you usually don't know the size of the attack.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about, for example, if you hear this from an infantry officer, infantry does not always see it. Probably if it's a company commander, he sees it, but it's anything below or just from the troops on the ground, they usually don't see the attacks, so they just know that attack is happening. They may see one tank, they may see one BMP, but it's hard to estimate the size. So definitely it happened. They keep pushing there. But it's not like Avdiivka size attacks.
Yeah, definitely not.
I don't quite understand this. What I've been told, it's 23rd Russian Special Forces Brigade there. They're somewhat better equipped. They have better morale for now. Let's make sure that You can help by donating. You can help make sure that their morale goes back down. But they're somewhat better equipped, and they have better morale. They do try to evacuate the wounded instead of just dropping them, which gives them some. I don't know what it gives them, but yeah, they do try to evacuate the wounded. If before my friend there, he's a bit the guy that told me he's a bit north from here, and he told me that before the unit before that, they did not really care about the wounded. They could lie like days there. But now they have, like, in a matter of hours, usually someone comes in and tries to pick them up. And so yeah, and this guy was telling me, this is not another guy, this is a guy from the 5th Assault Brigade. He said he's been feeding off, or he found one of the other like paths through which they come, a small one, and he's been feeding off there for like 3 days. And before it was just littered with the bodies. But now they come in and just pick them up and to take them away, and they're better equipped. So so we think that it's a 23rd Brigade of the Special Force of Russian Special Forces there.
That's interesting. Do you know anything north of Bakhmut?
No, I heard that there are problems. We have some problems there, but that's all I can say. I don't have much more information. I had a friend there, but he was pulled to the south, back to the places where we just discussed. So he's not really aware of what's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've not had any news in this northern Bakhmut in like 4 days, 5 days. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anything's changed. I've literally had no news from this northern part. This southern part is just constant attacks, and yeah, so I guess we more or less talked about that. There's Russia's had some advance north of Kleshivka, moving through this kind of hill. This is like a slope, basically. This part up here, like this field, is the top of the hill. So you can kind of like draw a line and imagine that this is a slope, and they've progressed up that slope towards the top of the hill. And the top of the hill is more or less a gray area, from my understanding. So they've also been crossed part of this railway near Kleshivka. Other than that, I don't know of any major changes in the front line in this area, and these changes themselves aren't super important. It's pretty minor changes of those two things. So, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about in this area?
Not really. I don't have much to say about this area anymore.
Yeah. So Ukraine's also been doing their little attack near Orlivka, which has been going on for about a week now. It's been like 7 days or so, maybe 8 days, and it appears that they have taken control over parts of these little villages and some of these trench lines. Some of these trench lines were Russian controlled prior to February 24th invasion. So that's pretty interesting to have Ukraine take over ground that Russia's held for a long time. Granted, it's a very small amount. Like I don't know what the total is, but it's maybe like 2 or 3 square kilometers or something. It's not like a big amount, but it's still something. Just crossing that border is always kind of interesting. So, Ukraine has gotten forces to the top of this hill here. Maybe it's better to look at in 3D. Is this the topography actually matters a lot. So here we go. Make it 3D. Whatever, close enough. Okay, so yeah, I never updated this map. I don't always update this map. Okay, so I'll not exaggerate it because this is pretty easy to see without exaggerating. So I'm gonna set the terrain to 100% instead of 300%, and yeah. So Ukraine got to the top of this hill here, and they have forces at the top of here. Now I don't know if they're still on the top, but they were on the top, and they were getting shelled by a BTR, I think. And I think mortars too, but and FPV drones. So, anyways, they got to the top of this hill, which is interesting. It's a little like slag hill, and they've also gotten to the top of this one. There's a trench system here. Kind of hard to see. But anyways, this line is a trench. It's a rather large trench. It's a very big trench actually. It's like almost like a tank trench, but it's not a tank trench. It's just very wide. And then here, this is also a trench. And this you can see the trench kind of rolling back, and it's all over this hill. Then back here, I think, is more earthy, whereas this is more of a pile of dirt, and this is more like compressed dirt. So there's like you can dig in more on this area over here, and you can see it. There's like trees and grass and stuff. Whereas over here, it's all like just a big pile of dirt and sand, where it's like it crumbles like you'd expect it to. But anyways, Ukraine is on the top of this hill, or at least they were. It's really hard to tell what has happened over the past few days. So we have kind of snapshots in time, and not much before or after those snapshots. But we do know that Ukraine moved across this big field into this slag heap or whatever. They climbed up this little hill here. They took this trench. This trench was really heavily shelled, but didn't appear to do anything. And they've moved up and taken all of these trenches. And we don't really know what happened after that. So the last we know that Ukraine was here, dug into these trench, and on top of this hill, dug into the trenches on top of this hill, which there are trenches on top of this hill. You can see the trenches here. So yeah, they've also gotten into this town over here, or at least this part of the town. You can see that like over here was kind of the front line before, and now they are in there's a defensive system here. I think it's like tunnels and stuff, and Ukraine controls that. They control all of these houses and all of these trenches, and these houses over here I'm not sure about, but I think they do control them because they do control this hill as well. So, and this industrial area, I'm not sure who controls it. It might be a gray area, although it's possible Ukraine controls that industrial area too. So this whole area has been interesting to see Ukraine attack here. I don't think any of this attack is big. It's not like they're sending in like thousands of guys, but it's still interesting. What do you think seeing this?
What did you say? Sorry.
What do you think seeing these attacks in Horlivka or towards there into
Well, I
these
think
slag
that
heaps?
it's just we saw an opportunity and we used it. I don't think there is much more to it. There is not much. I don't think there is not much area to develop this into something.
Well, I don't know about that. I think you can develop it. I do agree that it was an opportunity. I just mean, does a success like this, is it good for morale, or does it not matter?
I don't like we're talking about like general morale of the army. I don't think so. But when we're talking about for local units, it's good because first of all, for this specific unit that's doing it, it can be good. Then you need actual if the you need you need practice. You need to do something and see how the reaction. You need to get your troops engaged instead of just sitting under the shelling endlessly. So I do think that locally it's a good thing.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about an advance of about 1.5 kilometers over like 2.5 kilometers. So
You just gotta make sure you don't lose much. That's the
yeah. Yep. I think they lost one vehicle. They lost a BTR, I think. And that, like obviously, I have no idea how many infantry. But I don't know. I haven't seen that many infantry here in the first place, so I'm not like I'm just not sure they can lose that many. You know what I mean? Like if you send in like 200 guys, like you know. Uh, anyways, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen here. Russia is trying to counterattack. I don't know if they've had success. Like again, we just have snapshots in time. We don't have like ongoing news coming out. We know that Russia did big toss strikes. They did huge amounts of artillery, and I'm sure they've done airstrikes and whatnot. And from what we've seen, none of that has pushed Ukraine back, although it's possible Ukraine did get pushed back. Russia does claim that they retook all this ground, but there's no evidence supporting it. And they keep shelling it. They keep posting videos of shelling it. So, yeah. That's kind of that area. There's like no new news from there other than shelling. Then we get to Avdiivka. I'm not really sure what to say about Avdiivka. In a sense, nothing's really changed since the last time we talked, but in the other sense, it feels like things are changing for the worse. Russia is repeatedly posting videos of them controlling this industrial area to the south of Avdiivka, which we've known that they've controlled for several days now, so it's not really new. They're just very proud of it, I guess, and they are pushing towards the this residential area, which is not very far away at this point. But I don't know of any advances there, at least for the past few days. And in the north of Avdiivka, they've been trying to push into the coke plant without any known success. Although this kind of railway area near the coke plant, the railway itself appears to be in Russian control, and the area immediately to the west of the railway is a gray area, from what I can tell. I don't know. Do you know anything about here? Because I do know you talk to people here.
As a matter of fact, I don't, and I don't speak with people who are in this area.
It was it. It was the other person who talks to people there. Okay, sorry. I thought it was you.
More worthy person.
More worthy. Anyways, yeah. So, my map has been slowly changing because I've been really trying to stick to video evidence for the map here. So as video evidence comes out, I make changes. So like, for example, the most recent change was yesterday, where I drew in Russia along this tree line here, all the way across. So they've probably controlled it for a while, but there was never any video evidence proving it. There was only ever people talking about Russia capturing this, but there's finally evidence that came out yesterday that I saw, and that changed the map here. So there's also talk that Ukraine has done what they claim to be successful counterattacks in the same area, pushing Russia back east. Russia was moving really close to this tree line here, and apparently Ukraine pushed them back to the east, away from that tree line. So, yeah. Other than that, I don't really know what to say. There's the area is not. It's a high casualty sort of fighting, from what I see. There's I mean, I don't know how many casualties Ukraine is taking, but we do know that Russia's taking substantial casualties. I suspect Ukraine is also taking substantial casualties. I don't know what the ratio would be. And I don't really have numbers. Like, I don't even know how to estimate a number. But the videos that we see, like every once in a while, we get a drone video where a drone just kind of goes out and flies along a tree line. And whenever those videos come out, we just see piles of bodies. And it's just like, there's so many bodies. I mean, I haven't sat down and tried to count them or anything. But it's hard to imagine that there's anything less than just huge casualty numbers here. I don't really know what else to say. There's part of the thing is over the past few days, there's been so little news. I think it's because of the weather. The weather has been terrible. But we can go to the next section of the front, which is this Novomikolaivka here. Anyways, Russia has advanced here too. I waited a few days to see if the advance was real, because I had people telling me that Russia had advanced here, but they kept saying that they advanced, but that they felt that they could be repelled, and they thought that they could repel the Russians with artillery, and that hasn't happened. From what I've heard today, apparently Ukraine did use their artillery a lot today. I think over the past few days, it was hard because the drones couldn't fly. You couldn't really spot targets very easily. And I think today the weather was better and they fired a lot more, from what I understand. That's what I've heard anyway. And but yeah, it seems that Russia has indeed cemented control over this area, and I don't think they're going to be repelled anytime soon. So they are getting ever closer to this town, and this town, the town itself is not super important, but the town behind it is extremely important, and Ukraine needs to keep Russia away from this main highway here. So for that reason, the town is important. It's kind of the main line of defense for that highway. So Ukraine really does not want Russia moving further west from this point. And I guess we'll see what happens. Wolodivka, sorry.
Oh no, sorry.
Okay.
Does the elevation go up as you get towards that highway? It's hard to tell from what I'm.
I don't think so. I think it's just relatively flat. Let's look.
Flat, other than that one little draw through there.
Yeah, I think it's just basically flat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really flat.
I'll turn on the terrain exaggerator.
That's Alberta flat.
Yeah, so like there's some terrain, but like it's pretty flat. Yeah. Yeah, there's not much going on here. So anyways. I'm kind of running out of news. There really has been very little news in the past few days.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows how bad the weather has been. Like it in the Black Sea, it was absolutely atrocious and literally broke a ship in half. And then it kind of moved up into Ukraine from the Black Sea, and it's been wet and rainy and sleety and then snow and miserable, and it's really, really horrible.
Yeah, the sleet the other day did not look very fun. So there are two questions here, or three, I guess. One is, do I think Avdiivka will hold through the winter? And honestly, no, I don't think so. Um, Although maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. Because I guess Ukraine could cling to it and make it last for a very long time. Or they could fall back. Or they could do a big counterattack, which I don't think they will, but they could. There is some optimism. I have read optimism that um, that some Ukrainian forces, I don't really know how close they are to this area, to be honest. Some of them are convinced that they can counterattack this southern part of Avdiivka and take back this ground, which I genuinely don't think they can, but they seem to think they can, and they also think that Russia will not be able to break through into the coke plant, which I think they will. But I think it's just a matter of time before they get into the coke plant. It's too small of a distance. I don't think you can defend like 200 meters forever. Uh, Claims of Russian advances in Mariinka. First off, if I remember right, where was that? Oh, it was there. This is their advance that they're talking about. They're talking about going from right here to right there. And it's not even proven that it's true. But this advance is 60 meters, 60. So if this is what their propaganda wants us all to think is a giant advance, moving 60 meters in the gray area, then sure, then that's a huge advance. It's great for them. There's no proof they're even there anymore, because what they did is they flew a drone over. They dropped a smoke grenade. I don't think it was a smoke grenade. I think it dropped like a tear gas grenade into a hole in the ground. They claimed that Ukrainians were in that hole with no evidence to support it. They just said Ukrainians were in the hole, and they dropped a grenade into it, like a tear gas grenade. I'm pretty sure, maybe a smoke grenade, and then they walked over to the hole, and then that's it. That was the attack. And we don't know anything beyond that. It was just grenade in the hole. 3 guys walk up the hole. What happened next? Who knows? Did the Russians go into the hole? I don't know. But anyways, it's 60 meters. Like, I don't know. I'm not impressed by them moving 60 meters. They've moved a lot further before and then pushed back like immediately. What's the next line of defense behind Avdiivka? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I imagine they'll probably defend one of these streams or whatever these are, creeks. I don't know what the proper word for these things are, but I assume that they'll defend one of them. Probably this one here. This to the south of Avdiivka, there's a very obvious defensive line. But to the north of Avdiivka, there's not really an obvious place to defend. And I'm not really sure where they will defend. The issue is that taking Avdiivka gives Russia a lot of different avenues of attack. I think all those avenues would be in this northern part. You could just keep going north towards Konstantinivka from the south. Just keep going north, which would be bad. You could try to flank New York. You could try to go west towards Pokrovsk. There's a lot of avenues that Russia can move through. I don't really think they can move like southwest, because this is a very built up, easily defended position that's right behind Mariinka. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure where the defensive line is behind Avdiivka. And that's kind of the most worrying part of Avdiivka, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know of any changes in this area. I don't really know of any changes in the Rabatina area either. It's been getting shelled. The areas moving towards Novoprokopivka have been getting shelled, as you can see the shelling here. But yeah, I don't know of any particular changes. In the recent past, as we've noted already, and about a week ago, Russia withdrew from this area north of Verbova, and Ukraine took that ground that Russia left. And then Russia got very angry and shelled them a lot. But since then, there have been no changes that I know of. Basically, been more or less static. Ukraine has tried attacking a few times. There are rumors that Ukraine is preparing a larger attack into this little area, which is, I don't know, a kilometer away from where they are now. There's a rumor that they've been waiting for the weather to change to do that attack. By change, I mean the ground harden. But I don't know if that's true. Oh, speaking of a change, there is one change I forgot to mention that's interesting. Today there was a video that came out, or actually it was yesterday. There was a video that came out of Russia shelling this tree line, which is south of Bilohorivka, which we didn't actually know Ukraine was in that tree line. But anyways, that's all the military news. Konstantin, I want you to talk about today.
But you need to talk about the Kherson area.
Oh, you want to talk about the Kherson area?
Are there anything else?
Oh yeah, there's the area is getting very shelled. Okay, so today Russia launched in this area they launched about 28 airstrikes today. Most of them came in the early morning. They came between I have it here somewhere. Yeah, they came between 11:20 a.m. and 1 p.m. So that's like it's like what, like a 2-hour period. They dropped 25 airstrikes in a 2-hour period. That's a lot of airstrikes. A lot of airstrikes per hour, don't you think? Anyways, but yeah, a lot of the airstrikes came in these towns here, which they killed civilians and whatnot. But also, some of those airstrikes came in Krinky, and I'm sure some came on these islands and stuff too. But some of them came in Krinky. Ones that were notable today were these 2 helicopter attacks, which seemed to accomplish absolutely nothing, and these bigger airstrikes that also appeared to accomplish more or less nothing. But yeah, that's the first piece of news. Tons of airstrikes in Kherson. The second piece of news is that there was a video that came out. I think it came out today. I don't know if it actually came out today, but it's actually the thumbnail of this video. Here, I'll get the thumbnail. I have to minimize all my windows. So my thumbnail, there's this guy right here. He is a Marine in I can't remember what he said. Constantine, do you remember what he said? Which Marine he is?
No, I did not watch this. I saw this many times, like, but I did not
Yeah, yeah.
listen to it.
Okay, so this Marine here, I can't remember what unit he's in, but he's stationed around Krinky. The video that came out today, I'm almost certain this video was recorded on November 3rd or 4th. I'm pretty sure. So I don't think this video is actually new. This from like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it came out today from what I can tell. In the video, he says a number of things. First, he does what a lot of soldiers do, and he says that all of his commanders are idiots. It's a good starting point. He also says things like, everywhere you look, there's a Ukrainian. If you look over there, there's a Ukrainian. If you look over here, there's another Ukrainian. He says that they've tried to send in infantry to into positions, and when they get there, they get like hit by FPV drones. He said that in one of the positions, Ukraine had 3 FPV drones for every Russian that they had there, and that is referring to a very specific event that happened on November 3rd. But anyways, so he was complaining a lot about how it's not like the Russian army attacking, that it's like this inferior army, that like the Russian army doesn't exist anymore, and now it's this like mobilized conscript army, and like people don't know how to fight, and blah blah blah. So that's the sort of video that it is. It's a lot of standard soldier complaining. Constantine, I'm sure you've heard a lot of that stuff before.
Yeah, that's a lot of. They will complain. I do complain.
But it was interesting to hear it from the Russians in this area. And the general takeaway of it all is that he is not confident about Krinky. that is I think that's the takeaway. Not confident.
So I wanted to add something. So I have a small source in Alaska. And so like it's a story more like so there is like one of the residential buildings in Alaska, there was like I don't know, a stash that Russians made, but it was not like, you know, a military type stash where you would, you know, hold your weapons, but they essentially broke into someone's apartment, who the apartment that was abandoned, and they stored loot there, loot and civilian clothing. So and there was this guy who you know, who was living in the neighboring apartment, and that apartment was one of his friends. So what he did is he used nails to just shut the door completely. Like he on the perimeter of the door, he just put another door and just, you know, nailed it so no one could get in, and made it really hard. And what happened 2 days ago, that place, they came back, Russians, they came back and broke it completely, like just torn out the door with the frame, you know, that holds it, and took all the civilian clothing is gone. They had like stashes of civilian clothing there, and it's all gone. So and when I heard recently in the news that one of the occupational civil administration Russian was evacuated from Alaska, it rang a bell for me, like this may be somehow related. And I just found it interesting, just wanted to share it here.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that Russia is abandoning Voleshki. I don't believe any of that personally. At least not yet. Anyway, I don't know. My map is very conservative. I only make changes when I see proof that there is a change. So my map has not changed here in a very long time because there's not been proof. There's some. I could probably change it over here, closer to these towns, a little bit to the east of Voleshki, but I haven't. But what is your sense? Do you think this area is going as badly for the Russians as a lot of these rumors, or do you think it's
this is quite personal to me, so I want to believe that Russians are going to be thrown out from there, because I know so many people who has been suffering for this almost 2 years, and there just a lot of people died. I know one story of my relative. She was just depressed, absolutely depressed all the time, and one day she read good news, that Ukraine can liberate Aleshki soon, and she was killed the next day. I have a story where once again one of my relatives was on the kids playing ground. Of course there are no kids right now, but there was a drunk Russian who came out, and there were dogs, like people, just local dogs, not those crazy dogs or rabid dogs, of the just locals, and they started barking. He was completely drunk and was yelling something, and those dogs started barking, and he killed all of them, and he hit one of the guys. It was the back of the machine gun, and it's just so many terrible stories from there. I told the story where one of the relatives of my relative, not my direct relative, was raped, and she has schizophrenia, so they used it, and there's so much suffering going on there, that I'm not just very. I want to be optimistic. It's like I don't believe it. It's hard to believe anything, but I just want to be optimistic that it's going bad for Russians, and that they will have to withdraw from there. But I don't know.
yeah. This is just terrible. There's just a lot of terrible stories. And I remember seeing a lot of videos from the flooding, and just the bodies floating by in the flood water. It's all very. Anyways, do you wanna talk about the Day of Dignity? Well, I have a question. Maybe this is not a good question. He wants you to discuss the political landscape of Ukraine. Now, you don't have to give your opinions on the political landscape, or just for like an outsider, what is going on? I think that's the question. Like what? Like what's the basics? Or do you not want to talk about that?
So it's hard to, like, this is it's we don't have so, when you talk about the United States, for example, it's quite simple, I think, to explain the basics, because you have a very stable system that was not changing too much. But Ukraine, over a short period of time, we had a lot of changes, and we went basically from we went from pro-Russian. So we always had this, pro-Russian and pro-European government. It was divided mostly like south from east to west. One of the main reasons was simply, economic reasons, because in the West people used to trade with Europe more, and in the East we used to trade more with Russia. I'm from the East myself, and that's why you have more ties, and people tend to do what where the economy is more stable for them. But at some point, it started changing, and everyone wanted to go to Europe. Not many people wanted to go to Russia. So we had on 2014, we had basically two factions. One of the oligarchs, mostly pro-Russian oligarchs coming from Donbas area. They were mostly like those old Soviet directors who made their capital, who made their business in mostly in 90s by killing and taking over other business like Rico or racketeering basically, and they had a lot of control over. It was like a couple of clans there. And they had a control of the over the Ukrainian. Usually, they chose the president. If you would look, almost all the presidents came from either Dnipropetrovsk or Donbas region. No, we had no presidents from anywhere else up until Yushchenko. Then at some point, but we had strong political parties that had ideas, actually like pro-European ideas, and to move towards Europe instead of towards Russia, and change our just direction of the. And you must understand, Ukraine is between the middle of between Russia and Europe. Our port goes through the Black Sea, and we have to, we don't have luxury to be independent completely. So we have to have the allies. So it always was like between East and West. And it was called Party of Regions was the pro-Russian group, and we had multiple pro-European ones, and the Yushchenko one in 2004, sorry. And it basically stayed that way. The names have changed. Party of Regions have changed its names. They became OPZZ after Maidan, which means pro-life party. And by pro-life, I don't mean anti-abortion. I mean like it was just their name for life or something like this. And then we had Poroshenko party when he came, which was pro-European. But he failed to deliver. I would not say he was like a corrupt bad president. He just had a legacy of the of all the previous administrations, and Soviet Union. Just does not go away with the snap of fingers, because you have been in power. You have to have. It's not you who making every decision. You have to have good allies, and you have to have people who know how to run the government. And there aren't many of those, so he did not do reforms quite fast enough. So that's when Zelensky party came in, and they were like new, completely new. They, building everything from scratch, and he promised a lot. It was a populist party, still is probably. They were saying, "Oh, we're gonna give salaries like $4,000 salaries to the teachers." We're gonna stop the war by stopping the shootings. We will, we'll do all those crazy things that no one could do, obviously, to any sane person. But it's like, it's populism. Populism is working has been working too well lately, since the social media. When politics learn how to use social media, they just dive as deep as they can into the populism, and that's what he did, and that's what one of the things that led to the war as well, you can say, because he did not really, you know, he did not push back against Russia. He did not invest into military too much. But this is what we have, and that's when he got like a monopoly on power, I would say, because they won like 73% or something of the parliament. He got 70%, 73% of votes of the president, and around I think 60 something. It was almost constitutional majority in the parliament. So he had like he came with all the power in, and but as he was doing his job, populists, they never usually perform, and he did not perform. He did not deliver on any of his promises, obviously, because those promises were not real. It was just to get the power. And when the war started, people had to unite around the leader, and he was the leader. We did not have, anyone else to unite. So that's what we have right now. We're still united around him. We have no other choice. Do we want another person if there were elections? Probably. But do we want to have another elections? I'm not sure, because elections is quite sketchy during the war. A lot of problems come with it. How people who are abroad are going to vote, how people who are on occupied territories going to vote, how people that are on the front line, like soldiers, going to vote, because we have active war, very active war, with a lot of with almost 1 million people mobilized. So it's a lot of challenges that we have, and of course it takes a lot of money to run polls. If people think it's cheap, it's not. You got to do a lot of things. It usually takes us billions of dollars to run the proper election. So a lot of questions. And do people want to spend money on that right now? I don't know. I certainly would want elections, but I want a lot of things, and doesn't mean that I would, if I have a chance to do it, or chance to use that money to buy something else, I would not say let's buy some military equipment. So I don't know. That's my small rant here. I hope it helps, but that's how it is. Just short history, short a political overview. I don't know.
Would you like to talk about the Day of Dignity?
I don't have much to say about Day of Dignity. It's like, this is it's all about the Maidan that happened, second Maidan that happened in 2013, 2014. I'm from Kharkiv myself. I was in Kharkiv when all this started. We have very different experience from what happened in Kiev. Like Kharkiv is an eastern city that's controlled by mafia, basically was controlled by mafia, and it was quite dangerous to go to any protest there. It's not just imagine like in Kiev, you have all the support, you have a lot of you have a lot of people who are not afraid. In Kharkiv, everyone was pretty much scared of going out on the streets, because we had people, being dragged out, killed. We had people with their ears cut off, for saying something wrong. And it was quite, a scary environment. So I remember I live in the city center, so when we had the protest started, and we had those young guys who went in, who were not afraid, and I went there to help them with the gear. I had like a motorcycle helmet. I had some snowboard helmets, so they could, protect their heads when they're fighting. I gave some food, like whatever I could, whatever I had at home. Basically, I just gave to them, and some warm clothing as well. That's how it started in for us. And then it was back and forth. Then there were demonstrations. I started to go into them. There were then Russian sent. I don't know how to call them, insurgents, I would say, But yeah, Kharkiv stood. We had as it went, as it continued, we had more and more people, and at some point, Kharkiv had a pretty big mass. I don't know, around 40,000 people who came out on the protest, which is quite a lot. It's quite a lot for Kharkiv, which is it's an industrial city with people who are not very politically active, but we have a lot of students at the same time. But students usually, they during the holidays they leave. For example, they don't stay in Kharkiv itself. So it was quite challenging times, and it was we had some fights there. We have our fans, football fans, that helped us a lot. They were kind of nationalistic, but that's what usually have. Those are most active people. Doesn't mean they're Nazis or anything, but it's like they are more aggressive than others, more willing to act, and they're usually more engaged into things like this. So that's the experience that we had. But yeah, this how it went in Kharkiv. And then we had our mayor and the governor who just ran away in Russia. They just went. It just was ridiculous what they did. It was funny and ridiculous, yeah. But they just jumped on the car and just ran away from from one of the protests. They thought they're gonna win, but then they saw that when Yanukovych ran away, next day they just ran away themselves, and they were like, "Oh, no one is persecuting anyone. No one is lynching people. Oh, let's come back." Yeah, and they they died in the populism as well. Started saying that they are all those things that people wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all very complicated. It all seems very complicated and all very simple at the same time. That it seems to me. You tell me if I'm wrong. It seems to me that a lot of opposition. I'm not saying all the opposition, but a lot of it seems manufactured. Do you think that's true?
Could you repeat?
That a lot of the opposition, like a lot of the pro-Russian, especially the more violent parts, seem very manufactured. Like it's not genuine. Like,
Yeah, that's definitely like in Kharkiv. We had it. Kharkiv was considered to be the stronghold of Pro-Russian community, but there was no. They did not assemble to any rallies. They did not protest. They did not do it. Like they did not exist. It was not real. It was like a couple of paid dudes who it's mostly because they don't care. They have this. Don't forget that when you're pro-Russian, Russian mentality is be passive. It's not to do anything. Don't do anything. Like if you don't trust anyone, don't do anything. Just sit at home and watch everything. It's not your problem. That's the idea. Don't show initiative. And of course, this all shows in all the protests and all civil movements. They had nobody. They did not, even in Donetsk, which is right now occupied, but they did not have anyone. They had like 5,000 people who came out on the protests or something like this. And this is like a capital, and Ukrainian protests were larger there, but because they controlled all those gangsters and siloviki, the cops, that's what made them made them do what they did. But yeah, it was all manufactured. I have not I live in Kharkiv. I know people who are pro-Russian, but I don't know none of the people who would do anything. They're pro-Russian. Well, that means I don't like Europe, etc., and I don't like anyone else like NATO. but it does not mean that I'm gonna protest. It does not mean anything. It's just gonna be that it just means that I'm gonna sit at home watching TV and saying how everyone sucks and how everything is bad. That's about it.
Okay, so we have another question for you, Konstantin. How do you feel about the anti-corruption measures that are going on?
I don't think they're enough. I mean, we have corruption. Obviously, it's not going to. Every country has corruption. Our corruption is pretty high, but I would say that the measures are not enough. We got to do more. One of the biggest issues is that during the war, it's pretty hard to do measures like these because you gotta Ukraine is not a small country. It's not a huge country, but it's not a small country. And when you have 40 millions, you can it's we're not a dictatorship where once someone can say just shoot everyone that you don't like. You gotta have the working courts. Otherwise, what good can your investigation do if your courts are not functioning properly, or what good can your courts do? Can your justice system do when your prosecutors are corrupt, not functioning? So you got to build the system. You got to make sure that the system works. It's not like I'm just gonna appoint my friends on good positions who I trust, and everything's gonna be good. It's much more complicated. And money are money. What people have to understand that Ukraine, one of the reasons of the corruption is when people are poor, they start looking into the different sources of income. So to have less corruption, one of the best things they have is to have stronger economy. And it's hard to have stronger economy when your ports are blocked, when you're when half of the country is occupied, when everything have to be invested in the military. So I would say the best fight against corruption is the social reforms, when people feel that they don't need to take bribes, that they don't need to use corruption to get what they need. And it's quite complex to do. It takes years and years. If you take examples of the countries that had big corruption, got rid of it, like I usually use Poland as an example. Like in 90s, they had quite high levels of corruption. They decreased it, but they didn't integrate with the EU. They managed, to build the economy, integrated with the EU. For Ukraine, we never had the chance. EU and the United States and the Western world never accepted Ukraine as a rival. And they did not want to integrate with us. They did not let our companies to be on the same level trade as they do in the United States and Europe. So what do? You look for the markets, and Ukraine had to trade with Russia basically. And when you trade with Russia, you have you gotta corrupt. In Russia, you cannot get any contract if you're not given bribes, for example. And Russia is corrupting as well, and we cannot just say we're gonna get rid of Russia because they're gonna tell you, okay, we're not gonna if you look at the gas wars, for example, that we had with Russia, as soon as Ukraine started saying, okay, we're just getting rid of any Russian corrupt politicians, we had Russians coming in and saying, okay, we're going to increase the gas prices for you threefold, and we're going to shut the pipe for you, so you cannot buy the gas. And gas, Ukraine, you must understand, Ukraine has an industry that depends on natural gas, and also we're not absolute northern country, but we have harsh winters, and we depend on gas for the heating, and it's a big problem for us. So it's not as easy as people think to get rid of corruption. It's not just a snap of fingers and people not willing to do it. But I do think that we're not doing enough. I do think that Zelensky is doing way too little to deal with it, and I do think that he has more leverage in fighting corruption than he uses, and I think that he can do much better. That's my point. But once again, it's not. As I said, I don't consider Zelensky to be a too savvy guy. He's not that good. He was a populist. I mean, if you're a populist once, it usually does not change. I just don't think he knows how to do systemic reforms. I don't think he has a team to do systemic reforms. But that's what we have, right? Like we don't, not like we're corrupt and we just want to do bad things. It just, we got to have the right leader for this. I just don't think that Zelensky is the right leader for it, and I don't think he's capable of it. But I mean, that's what we have. Not. We have to live and we have to survive somehow, and we still have to fight the war. It's Ukrainian people, not Zelensky, who is fighting. Zelensky is just one block that represent part of our society, part of us.
I mean, I don't know too much about Zelensky outside of the war. Like, I don't. I mean, I read a lot of Ukrainian news every day. It's basically all I do. So, like, I do follow kind of the events in each oblast that is in the war. So, like, Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, and Donetsk, and Luhansk, and Zaporizhia, and Kherson, and Odessa. I don't read anything about the other oblasts, so I don't know anything that's going on out in those other places. But just from what I see from Zelensky in the war, I just think he's not doing enough. Like I feel like there's been a lot of problems that he could have addressed and he just didn't, and it continuously baffles me why he doesn't. Because it's within his authority as the president to do certain things, and he just doesn't.
I just think like he's not a bad guy, but I just think he's not up for the job. That's he was good when he stayed in Kyiv. He had the courage. Big respect for him for that. But in terms of courage is different. Courage and saying the right words on the TV is quite different from doing something systemic and finding the right decisions in a million of the wrong ones. So that's my take on it. That's how I see it. That's how a lot of people see it as well. But he has some popularity, right? He still has. Of course, there are no polls. But I mean, there was no real vote to understand what's his support right now, and polls they can be deceptive, and so that's what we have.
Yeah, I mean, is there any serious opposition to him? Like actually serious? I don't mean just like people speaking against him, but like if there was an election tomorrow, is there a person who would be the front runner?
So we have right now internal. I think there is right now internal tension between Zelensky and Zaluzhny. I have a feeling that Zaluzhny wants to run as well, and Zelensky is, of course, he feels threatened by him. I don't know why. I don't know why Zelensky would be away. Like, if you lose, man, just step away. Whatever. It's like, be a hero, step away. It's not gonna, make you a bad person. Or
I mean, he promised that he wouldn't run again, right?
He did. Yeah. There was no war. I mean, it's a bit different. It really is. When you promise you're not gonna run the second time when there is no war. And when there is war, you see that things are quite bad, and if you feel that you're needed, you may change your mind. So I'm not that concerned with that. But he did, yeah, of course, he did promise not to run again. He said he will have only one presidency. But yeah, the second, I think he is very concerned that Zaluzhny will run. I would probably, I'm not sure that it's a good choice, Zaluzhny, but I do think that we have, since the front, like we need to change. That's what I think. And Zaluzhny is someone who if there was a choice that we had, I would go probably and vote for Zaluzhny instead of Zelensky. But other than that, we have no candidates at this moment who could, who could challenge Zelensky.
Yeah. And of course, if there actually were an election, people would come out, and
Yeah,
you never
don't
know.
forget that it's not Zelensky. People are saying, "Oh, Zelensky destroyed the democracy. Ukraine is not the democracy." No, we have it in our constitution, in our democratic constitution that was, approved by the people, and that says there are no presidential elections during the state of war. That's what we have. People are saying that, well, United States have elections during Second World War.
Yeah, United States wasn't actually at war though. Like we were in the war, but we didn't have like
troops 20 kilometers from the Washington. When you would have that, things would be, trust me, completely different for any country.
I feel like that's common sense. Like I feel like normal people don't need to have that explained to them, but like when a significant portion of your country is occupied, it's not a good time for an election. Anyways,
I like that both of you think that common sense is common.
It's just like, how do you count the votes in Luhansk? like how do you?
Luhansk was occupied for quite a long time. We had elections since then, but we had people who moved from there. But it's like it makes we have other occupied areas, newly occupied areas. We have one of the challenges is that when you have a vote, you have big concentration of people. How does military vote? How like 400,000 people who are on the front lines fighting? How do they vote? Are you gonna bring them all in the same place and ask them to drop a ballot or something? Like, have you seen what happened to 128th Brigade or to a Russian sinner that came to die in Luhansk or Donetsk, wherever that happened? Like you don't do that. You just don't. What do we do with 4 million refugees that left? What we usually have is that you go to, if you're abroad during the election, you go to the embassy, you vote at the embassy. But we have 4 million refugees. Our embassies simply don't have this capacity to do this. So we'll have to invest a lot of money to build that capacity. Abroad and at home. So how do you do that? It's not that easy. It's not. It requires a lot of money. And trust me, all those people who are blaming Ukraine for not hosting an election, as soon as they see that Ukraine spends $1 billion or $2 billion on the election, they're gonna run out and say, "Why are those idiots are wasting money on the election while there is war going on?" So like, if you're looking for something to blame Ukraine for, you always will find whatever we do. So it's a paradox.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into this at all. Like I'm not even gonna say what I actually think here, but I think there was a very specific political reason that has absolutely nothing to do with Ukraine for why that argument came out, and it I mean, the argument in favor of Ukraine having an election, and it wasn't an argument that had anything to do with Ukraine. I don't think. I'm pretty sure the origin of this whole thing is a completely different country that has its own political problems, and the whole thing was based on those problems and had nothing to do with Ukraine. Ukraine was just filler. It was like fill in the blank, say something. It was commentary on themselves is what I mean. It was commentary on themselves, and Ukraine was the vessel that they used for the commentary. And I don't think it anyway, I don't want to get into specifics beyond that because I don't want to get into like a political debate, but that's what I think happened. Anyways, there are a few other topics I'd like to talk about. Exit, do you have any more boat things or missile things or anything like that you'd like to talk about?
Actually, there is one that I had even missed it yesterday. It's the KMAX Ruler, which is the ship that was hit by a missile in Yuzhny. It has left Ukraine and is now somewhere in the Black Sea, Romania, Bulgaria, somewhere. It is not transmitting AIS. It did not. Nobody knew it left. It's been very quiet. I assume it's gone somewhere for repairs, and that's it. We don't really know a whole bunch more than that, and I'm not going to poke around on that one because there's probably a reason for it. So that's kind of the only other thing I can think of for ship news today.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because we had a question about that, so that checks off one of the topics. So now there's one last topic I'd like to talk about, and this is the Shahed attacks that have been happening recently. And if I saved it, which I hope I did, yeah, I think I saved it. I mapped out a Shahed attack the other day, and it was a somewhat sophisticated attack. And from what I can tell, today was a very, very similar attack. And that's why I kind of want to talk about what happened the other day. Because I think literally the same thing happened today. So there were a few different avenues of attack. The first was, well, okay. So the first was a, they I can't remember the order anymore. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So one avenue of attack, they attacked over the Berislav district of Kherson, and this attack. So it went over the Dnipro and up northwest, and I lost tracking somewhere around here, but I'm pretty sure they reappeared up here, and so you can see that this attack basically went on this northwestern approach all the way up towards first they were apparently attacking this airbase, but they flew over it and kept going, and I believe they were shot down somewhere around here. So I'm not sure exactly what the whole point of that was. But anyways, that was one avenue of attack. The other avenue of attack was that they flew across Donetsk, and then kind of along this Kharkiv border. And one group went a little bit north, and I lost contact of them somewhere around here. The other group, it kept going north, first towards Mehrad, or however you pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce anything. But anyways, but it flew over that city. It kept on going. It was flying towards Chernihiv, and then it did this whole hook, and part of them flew towards Kiev, and the rest apparently kept going around Kiev and linked up with this group here. Now, I'll talk more about this group in a second. This group that went north-ish over here may have linked up here as well, and I'm not sure. Anyway, then there was another group that went along the Dnipro, like along the river itself, through Zaporizhia, and then on up and along the river like this, and they appeared somewhere around here, and they started going north and then turned west, and some of them turned west, some kept going north and joined up with these around Chernihiv and went that way. The rest went west on two different approaches. One just due west, the other group went towards Kyiv and then turned southwest. But all 3 or 4 or 5 of these groups, however many you want to count, they all linked up somewhere around here in the Vinnytsia Oblast, or whatever oblast this is. Anyways, and then they went towards the same airfield over here. So anyway, this was all a somewhat convoluted attack. It involves the main parts of it is that it goes up, does this hook, goes south, then west, and then up to this airfield. So that's kind of the attack. And then they split in various places and take a few different courses, and then come back together again and attack the same place. So this attack apparently happened again tonight. Pretty much the same thing from what I can tell. There was also this other attack towards Odessa, where it took this northern route that went through Mykolaiv Oblast. It went north of Mykolaiv and then kind of turned south and towards Odessa. I lost news about them somewhere around here. And then there is finally this last attack in the south, which occurred last, I believe, where the drones, the Shaheds, just kind of appeared right here, and then they turned north and kind of went along the western side of Odessa, and yeah. So that is this kind of convoluted Shahed attack that they've apparently done several days in a row, like basically the same thing. And it's kind of weird because this is a very specific attack, and they apparently did it again tonight. So I just wanted to point this out. And the reason I point it out is because they keep doing this attack. Now, I don't think they'll continue doing this forever, obviously. It's just interesting to me that they've done it multiple times. And I figured I'd share it because I tracked it. And I started tracking tonight, and it was basically the same.
It's my understanding that almost all of the attacks for Odessa don't come straight to Odessa. They either go way south and then come north, or go like up north and kind of curl back around and then back down in. So it seems like that's kind of consistent for Odessa specifically, but the other tracks are really interesting for sure.
Yeah. I tracked another day as well. I can't remember what day it was. I don't feel like looking. Oh, there it is. Oh boy. It becomes such a mess. Oh boy, wait, I just did something very bad. It becomes a mess tracking these things because there's so many parallel attacks that occur like simultaneously that it's difficult. Like this was a very kind of trivially simple attack day where they similarly went up the river and did this same sort of thing where they went up the river and across and to the same objective again, and then they went across Mykolaiv and then north and then back. Then they did this hook. They kind of did this hook here. They're like, it looked like they were going towards like Lviv or some whatever, and then did this big hook and attacked the city from the rear. So Uh, yeah, so that was another Shahed attack. They get really convoluted when uh, there's like 5 or 6 or sometimes more groups of Shaheds all moving simultaneously, and they're all like changing direction and going into different places, and tracking each individual group is it takes a lot of brain power to be honest, and it always happens like late at night, early in the night for me, especially since I wake up at like 3 in the morning. So it's like it feels like I've been awake for like a day, and I have to track this thing, and there's like all these convoluted things going on. It's very I would really like someone to do this for me, to be honest. I keep like wanting someone to track Shaheds for me. I would very much enjoy that. It's I don't know if I have the brain power to do it. It's just a lot.
You heard that, everybody. Andrew needs somebody to track Shahed. Oops, sorry. There's notifications coming on my computer. My apologies. And he also needs somebody to make thumbnails. So
Oh yeah,
get out.
and we need more geolocators. We need more geolocators really badly. Like at least like one more would be great. Yeah. Anyways, that's my advertising. Well, on the plus side, people are debating politics in the comments, which is great. It's always great to see. Anyway, I don't know what else to talk about. Do either of you have anything you'd like to add?
Not me. I'm falling asleep a bit.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So I think that's the stream, everybody. Thank you for coming, Constantine, and thank you for coming, Exit. I want to check your your thing.
My thing.
The PayPal. How's it going? How's the fundraiser going? Oh, it's so close. You're you're gonna get there. It'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Definitely.
Anyways, thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you for Constantine and Exit. I hope you found it valuable, and we'll be back on Friday for another show. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.